It's still March and the madness continues. Whether you're talking about college basketball or the NFL or maybe even Major League Baseball, it's all been freaking crazy. This is the We Don't Know Sports podcast. Stay tuned. Welcome back once again to the We Don't Know Sports podcast. This is Chad the Mark with
Turbo Tommy
and
Canadian Big Ed.
And we're having a wonderful Thursday evening here because the madness is upon us. But it depends on what you're talking about when we go over madness. It could be March Madness. It could be Biggie sneezing into the mic. There he goes. I can see it on his face a mile away. It could also be the madness of the NFL because holy shit, it's been nuts. And we're going to get into all of that. We wanted to start with NFL, but it's going to take too much time, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
I mean, I could sit and talk a couple moves that were made here in the last 2 days for a half hour by themselves.
So the last time we did the podcast, we were talking to our buddy from Cleveland, and Mr. Brown was in the background with you, Turbo, screaming about Devontae Adams. He got all excited and ruined our interview. No, not really. It was fine. But speaking of interviews, we got a great guest on an episode that will drop this weekend, Barry Laminack, down in Houston. He's a stand-up comedian. He's worked for ESPN Radio TV. He's got his own show. But man, it's an hour long. And I was sharing some of the stories with you guys. You got to hear a little bit of it. What was your initial thoughts on the interview?
That guy had a lot to say. He was pretty smooth, too.
You were just happy he talked about Mattress Mac, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. Mattress Mac, shirtless Calvin Sampson, Dana Holgerson.
I didn't even ask him about Dana Holgerson, man.
No, Dana.
No, I didn't ask him about any Houston stuff regarding the Cougars.
Oh, shit.
Damn,
That's a missed call.
I'm a
right there.
terrible interview.
Chad, come on.
Am I suspended without pay now? Is that how this works? Anyway,
You're still working, but it's without pay.
I'm just doing it for the fun of it, damn it. We do it because we enjoy it. Mr. Brown's out this week. He had to do his work thing he mentioned, but he was, last time we checked, on his way, but he's still probably not going to see us tonight. So we might get to a little baseball in spirit for Mr. Brown. We wish him safe travels, but Biggie, I don't even want to talk about our brackets. I don't want to talk about how bad they are. St. Peter's screwed everything up. Tommy, how bad did St. Peter's screw you up?
I'm screwed. I haven't even paid attention to it. Kentucky all the way. They screwed me. I'm just done.
That was what was happening when we were doing the show last week. We stayed and watched St. Peter's beat Kentucky.
So now, do you want to tell all the people listening why exactly you chose Kentucky to win the national title?
Do we have to go there?
Well, they should know.
It's a West Virginia thing.
They're not going to understand that. It's fine.
It's just a West Virginia thing.
So, like I said, we don't care. We don't care about our brackets, but let's talk about what's going on. And just truth be told, in the background, we got Georgia, Gonzaga, and Arkansas. Georgia's not even in the damn tournament. I don't know why I said that. But Arkansas holding their own at the half, man. So anyway, just looking at the Sweet 16. What are the biggest matchups you're looking at that you're kind of like, man, this is must-see TV?
I really like the Houston-Arizona matchup. And then
Houston's probably going to win that, aren't they?
Well,
Arizona's been awful shaky.
I got Arizona going to the Final Four. So
I got them winning the whole damn thing, but I'm telling you, man, I don't feel like they're going to survive. They've not looked like the best team.
I think that Duke, Texas Tech is just a
game.
Huge matchup because it's Coach K. The game that I kind of like the most, and I'm not sure why I like this game the most, I like the UNC-UCLA game. Tomorrow, it's just blue bloods.
It feels like
blue blood,
March Madness when you get UCLA and UNC.
I mean, I think UNC was an 8 seed, UCLA is a 4, so it's not like it's a matchup of heavyweights, but in all-time college basketball, it's a matchup of heavyweights.
It does feel like heavyweights.
UCLA was in the Final Four last year, so I like that matchup.
North Carolina's an 8 seed still is odd to me. Speaking of high seeds, though, Michigan got any shot at Villanova? That game's underway.
I think they do. I think that Juwan Howard getting suspended coming back for the Big Ten tournament revitalize their team a little bit. They're fighting for something, for lack of a better way of saying it. And what they did when they beat Tennessee, because a lot of people had Tennessee going as far as the Elite Eight. They're a good squad.
Yeah, there's another one I lost.
Yeah, you get a week off to prepare.
Let's look at Tommy's bracket and find out who we like.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing them win and have a little redemption, but Villanova, Jay Wright, whatever it comes to tournament time,
they're tough, man.
I don't know what they do, but
they
they're
just
right
win.
there. Yeah.
They're a lock for the Sweet 16 every year. Now they're here. The chances of them going to the Elite Eight, I like a lot. But I will say, Juwan Howard was on Jim Rome's show today, and a little bit of the jungle karma might rub off, man. That was actually an interesting interview to listen to because he was just flat out talking about the punch and the suspension and how he's dealing with that stuff and how they've brought Chris Webber back into the program, which he hasn't been around it for years. So it's interesting times at Michigan.
He did the tour today because he was on DP also. And I kind of like how when he get asked, a lot of times if they ask guys about what just happened, like the punch, they don't want to answer it. And he just flat out answered it, said, here's where I'm going from there. Hopefully I can help
his
other
PR
people.
team's not stupid. They got him saying the right things and addressing it the right way.
Well, and then he coddled that kid from Tennessee that was crying last week, and that was part of the
that was
Weber.
good.
And I think that's sincere. He did that, because he knew the player. I just talked about that. But you're right. They said, how do you go from a punch to a hug? Yeah, now that's how you make people forget about the punch. But I'm not going to sit there and dwell on that. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, though. There is the 15 seed with St. Peter's. Any shot against Purdue?
Well, they've come this far. I don't see why they can't win another one. The teams they beat so far better and are as good as Purdue.
I want to see. I love the run, man. They're already at the Sweet 16. Let's get was it George Mason that made the Final Four there?
With Jim Larinaga years ago, and now
Yes,
Jim Larinaga's in the Sweet 16.
With Miami,
coaching
right?
Miami. You know the best part about Miami making it to the Sweet 16? They beat Auburn to get there. So Calvin Sampson goes shirtless in the locker room after Houston wins, and Charles Barkley before the Auburn-Miami game said, Auburn wins this game, goes to Sweet 16. I'll take my shirt off. In his post-game press conference, they asked Jim Larinaga about the victory, and he said, well, I heard that Charles said he was going to take his shirt off, and I thought we'd do everyone a favor and take away something they'd never be able to forget.
Nobody
You
wanted
got to
to see
love
that.
the awareness of that. Real quick, because I got to ask you a Rex Chapman question here in a second. But
He killed a guy.
on the right, that's because that's what we always do.
Yeah.
But it wasn't us this time. He killed somebody, but I can't remember who it was. Who was it? Was it? It was a former coach for Providence, maybe.
Gillespie.
I can't remember.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
But he basically talked about him in past tense, right?
Oh yeah. Yep.
So
He
what's
killed him.
Him and Bob Huggins on the other side of that tape, like that's God. And they were roasting Huggins on Twitter, just about how dry. Like great mind, great knowledge, but he is not. He's not one of those coaches you ever said he's got a career in the booth when this is done.
Yeah, he's like that guy that it felt like this was punishment. Like, why is he here? Did he lose a bet? Why is he out?
He knows it might help with recruiting, so we better go ahead and get
Gotta
my
see
face
the
up
face,
there.
Yeah.
He's a guy you want to have a beer with. He's not one you want to do an interview with.
See, I think if they were to talk basketball, having a beer, belling up to the bar, Huggins would be a great guy. In front of the camera,
Great.
it's just like his halftime interviews. He's like the Bill Belichick.
Right. I was going to say, I saw a skit on Family Guy this past week where it was Bill Belichick singing Christmas carols.
Oh, okay.
I'll show that to you here shortly. But anyway, that's what Huggins is like. Like, that's the amount of, on the first day of Christmas, the zone defense gave to me. Just going to be something really terrible.
Yep.
Anyway, the Miami matchup, Iowa State won 2 games last year.
Yeah,
How in the hell do you win 2 games and now you're in the Sweet 16?
Amazing turnaround. Good coaching. Got to build the right culture. Have
You
guys who
fire
wanna
people
play.
when they go 2 wins.
That's got to be the biggest turnaround in the history of NCAA basketball. 2 wins to the Sweet 16.
I can't think of another.
I couldn't think of anyone. No.
Impressive.
Big turn. Yes.
It's just not, and Big 12, best basketball conference in the nation this year, showing where and why. Because
I agree.
Iowa State was like the 6th best team in the conference, and here they're in the Sweet 16.
I agree.
Yep, Iowa State. You got Iowa State, Kansas still in 1 seed. Providence still in there, which we didn't even talk about that. But we all think Kansas probably winning that one, right?
Yeah, I like
Kansas has looked real good in the tournament.
I like Kansas. They're looking as good as they've looked all year. They've looking just. I'd like to see a Kansas St. Peter's matchup.
Hey, why not?
You know who St. Peter's head coach is? I didn't realize this at the time.
He was used to be a point guard for Seton Hall. That's all I know.
Shaheen Holloway. The last time a school from Jersey made the Sweet 16, he was the point guard for Seton Hall.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hey, there you go.
Funny how things come like that.
That is kind of a nice
But
fitting,
you look at
touching
it this
story.
year, you have like usually in a Sweet 16, you always have all like the 1s and 2s left or close to it, the 3s. You got a matchup between Miami and Iowa State. That's a 10 and 11. UCLA and UNC 4 and an 8. St. Peter's is a 15. I mean, there's a lot of double-digit seeds.
Parity exists in college basketball. And we say it all the time. When you find those squads that have like 4 seniors or something like that start, they're the ones that sneak up on everybody.
Seniors in guard play.
Yep. And that's the most – that and then apparently Syracuse's defense. Anytime somebody plays zone in the tournament, everybody's like, oh, how are they going to beat the zone? Like they've never seen a 2-3 zone. The thing they teach us in like junior ball.
Yeah.
I don't get what it is with Syracuse's zone, and they'll get to the tournament. They were in the playing game.
Oh, I don't know about that zone.
Back. They get into the tournament with that zone defense, and they make a run to the Final Four, and it's like, this is high-level basketball here. How can you not beat a zone?
I get it when you play like a team that might be super physical or press or just be relentless like that, because you don't see that all the time. But like I feel like everybody plays a zone at some point or another. Like let's just calm down and recognize that everybody plays a zone.
What was your favorite game from this past weekend?
The past weekend. So, I worked. I didn't get to watch a lot of them, but I enjoyed the one I watched here with us on Thursday night, Friday morning, watching St. Peter's, man. That was awesome. And then because their next game, they won fairly easy, comparatively speaking. Didn't go to overtime and things like that. I'm trying to think. I don't know. What about you?
To pick on me.
For me, it was Michigan State Duke on Sunday.
Yeah, well, anytime you put Izzo and Coach K in there. All right, so let's
it was a classic finish.
So let's, real quick, Tommy, you got a favorite game or anything stood out
over the past weekend?
Sure, or just so far.
I'm looking forward to the Duke-Texas Tech game, but I will say Michigan State-Duke was probably the best game there.
All right, so here's my question on the Duke situation. Is today going to be Coach K's last game, or does he carry on?
I say that he carries on. What do you think, Turbo?
I think he carries on, but this is going to be a tough one for him. Texas Tech can play.
I feel like this is where it ends.
It's a
tough
matchup.
You're with Glauser. He's the biggest Duke fan I know, and he put his money on Texas Tech. He said that he's pretty sure Duke goes down tonight.
Yeah, and you know what? It'll probably be the highest watched game of the tournament outside of the title game. But
I think going forward, if Coach K's in the game,
that's just going to keep upping itself. Yes. I get that. I think this is where it ends, though. I'm with you. I think this is where it ends.
The NCAA, they got a little Roger Goodell NFL in them. This is scripted.
The fix might be in. We got a David Stern frozen envelope.
If it's scripted, he will be playing in the final.
Oh, yeah. He's making it to the Final Four. The other thing that they keep doing with him, and I can't ever remember seeing this before, maybe they did it, but every time before each game so far, and they did it tonight too, they show him getting off the bus, waiting for his wife, walking
hand in hand with his wife.
It's like the old school wrestling entrance where they show him from the locker room out.
Coming up from backstage.
Yeah.
Can he get a Goldberg entrance? Can we knock on the locker room door and get a security escort? And Coach K's got a little trickle of blood coming down where he headbutt a locker.
Yeah. That would be pretty awesome.
Coach K. Coach K.
So if he gets to the Final Four.
Someone cue the music. Oh, my God, that's Coach K's music.
I think the way I looked at it, unless I'm just misremembering right now, Gonzaga and Duke win tonight, and that's who plays Saturday for a trip to the Final Four.
That would be correct.
Oh, that right there, win or lose, could be the game of the tournament.
Maybe he could pass the baton to Mark Few as being the best coach in all the land. Yeah. Little storyline there.
It's funny how good Villanova is, and we always just skip over Jay Wright as 2 national championships, great coach. And underrated. He's been there forever. And when we think about it, we think Kay, Izzo, Bill Self, Mark Few. We don't even mention Jay Wright.
Well, I mean,
he gets mentioned, but not.
I think it's because it's Villanova. It's not as big of a school, I guess. But regardless, March Madness lives on. I got to take a break. Give me a drink of water. Give me a drink of alcohol. Get a beer. Whatever you need to do. Y'all take a break just for a second because we got to talk more madness. Because the damn NFL's been madness, and I don't even know where to start there. So I got to collect my thoughts. We'll be right back. All right, I feel like that was a complete lie. I didn't really have to compose myself or get ready for the next segment. I just wanted to watch the end of the game. We just got done watching Gonzaga and the best fan base in the country.
Big
Razorbacks.
Suey, baby.
Big Suey knocks off Gonzaga. That first win Arkansas ever has had over a 1 seed. Did you know that?
Suey.
Yeah. That is an impressive win. Eric Musselman's one hell of a coach.
And they're on to the next. So maybe date with destiny with Duke.
Yeah, that would be a very interesting way to end it for Coach K.
Yeah, I thought we were going to get Mark Few and all that, and Coach K maybe passing the baton.
I was personally rooting for a Gonzaga victory. I wanted
Why?
Gonzaga
We were talking about that. Why were we rooting for Gonzaga?
Yeah, you
like
never
Arkansas
root for the
fans
one.
have been so good that we don't know sports. They flock to the. They're still there. Like we love Big Suey Nation.
I think that we were rooting for Gonzaga simply because we wanted a Gonzaga Duke game because it's K's last year. Because if it was 3 years ago, we'd be all over Arkansas or any team playing a 1 seed.
Biggie, you had a personal reason why you were wanting Gonzaga.
Well, I
It
had
was in
money
his bracket.
cash.
His bracket sucks anyway.
Cash.
Well, we got more March Madness coming up this evening, but I want to finish the show. I want to keep moving, and we've got to get some things addressed here that have happened. We talked earlier about how last time when we did the show, Devontae Adams news broke. And just when I can't believe nothing's happened today. Is today like the first day that nothing's happened?
It feels that way.
Like the NFL cycle has been overwhelmingly ridiculous. Before we even get into it, is this the single biggest tumultuous offseason that we've ever had?
It's the biggest one that I can remember.
That I can remember, yes.
Like-
We're not even at the draft.
I think I asked some people.
Yeah, a month away from the draft.
I know, right? Like it was like, we don't even know where that's going to end up in play yet. And there's still some movement that'll happen there. But I asked some people today, like, can you name an offseason that was more wild than this? And people were talking about maybe a couple years ago with what did they say? They referenced
The
something.
year that Brady left New England,
Yeah,
went down
yeah,
Tampa
yeah.
Bay. There were some big moves that year.
Yeah, but like compared to this,
Well, I mean, you've had 40 combined Pro Bowls trade teams here in the last week, it feels like.
so let's take a deep breath and get up to speed here. So we're going to break down Deshaun Watson specifically, but that's the big one. Went to Cleveland, but outside of him, you had
Tyreek Hill, who was to me the biggest shock because
came out of nowhere.
in our group text, we were like, oh, hey, did you hear Tyreek Hill got permission to seek a trade? And then like 25 minutes later, Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins.
Is that not how it works though? At this point, like once you hear the rumblings, you're like, oh, this shit's going down.
Yeah, and then you had something where he shared a tweet a couple weeks ago we should have paid attention
Yeah,
to.
the writing was on the wall. He was thanking Chiefs Nation for everything.
Yep.
So, Miami now, I mean, what are your thoughts on them? You're an AFC East guy being a Patriots fan. Do they scare you?
I hate that trade because it gives Tua the chance to be a good quarterback now. Not that he couldn't have been, but he's not an overwhelming talent back there. But with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, they have the fastest wide receivers in the league, and you don't have to beat guys over the top. How many times do you see Tyreek Hill take a 5-yard pass and go to the house with it?
Right.
has speed corners.
Tua is a lot like a Baker Mayfield or even a Fitzpatrick or a guy like that, he can look really good at times if he's got the right talent around him where he can – it hides your blemishes,
And I just want to say Miami should really be thanking Bill O'Brien. You know how there's just 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon?
Oh, yeah.
The NFL's got the 6 degrees of Bill O'Brien.
Dude,
because
you weren't on the interview with our boy Barry Laminack. Man, he specifically broke down how just terrible Bill O'Brien is. And I was like, well, maybe you can be the Dolphins now since you got all the draft picks from Cleveland. But
Yeah, well, if you look at it, he rage quit on DeAndre Hopkins, and that's what started all these wide receivers with their big money and their trades. Do you know where the Dolphins picks that went to Kansas City came from? When they traded Laramie Tunsil to the Texans. That's how Kansas City got 5 picks out of Tyreek Hill, a first, a second, a fourth or a fifth this year, and then a couple picks next year. And majority of those picks came from the Larry Tunsil trade. It just blows my mind. For me, Kansas City, people are going to kind of hate him. How do you let go of him? As long as you have Mahomes and Reed, you're going to still be – you're not the number one team in the AFC now, but you're in the top 3.
They got compensated.
well, here's the one question though. You guys, one of you said something about DK Metcalf might be in the works. I mean, let's go ahead and say that on record because shit, every time that stuff comes out, it happens. So we're just going to will that that to fruition? Is that going to happen now?
Well, where I heard that was I was listening to Colin Cowherd, and he said that per his sources, which they never say who it is, DK Metcalf is getting traded. Seattle's in a complete rebuild, and it was down to the Chiefs or the Packers as far as who was going to be the super.
Well, so Montez Valdez-Scantling, he signed with the Chiefs today.
Yeah, so if you give that bum 3 years for $30 million, then DK is going somewhere else.
This is all the Jaguars' fault too. You realize that, right? Like they have jacked up the price of wide receivers to a point. To why are you paying?
They have to overpay to get people, so it widens the market or makes the market better.
Like Christian Kirk getting paid $11 billion, and now exactly who
Christian Kirk.
who.
Oh, well, the other thing too that gets me is that you have all these big moves that are going on, and it used to be in the NFL it was more free agency. Trades weren't quite as prevalent as they have been this offseason.
It's kind of like baseball.
Yeah.
It's gotten to the point where they're like, well, how many years of control do you got left? You got a couple years and you're rebuilding, so go ahead and get your draft picks for everybody. People are rather the Dodgers, the Rams, or you're the Pirates.
Like you look at and how teams trade and front offices work. Amari Cooper was a first-round pick. When the Cowboys traded for him from the Raiders, he had a big year for him. They gave him this huge contract. What'd they get, a fifth, sixth-round pick out of Cleveland for him?
It was basically just take a flyer so you can eat the contract.
Yeah.
Well, all right, so what else happened? Matt Ryan went to the Colts. What did they give a third round for him?
I don't know the exact compensation, but I know Tommy really loves this trade for the Colts.
I love that. That's a perfect fit there.
So is he going to do better? Will he do better than Phillip Rivers did there?
I believe so, yes.
And who's the next aging quarterback they'll get after Matt Ryan?
They're setting a trend there, aren't they? That's a good one.
I think that by that point they're in the, I don't know, Ryan Fitzpatrick, if he's still around.
Nah, he's not that level. They'll have to get maybe a Ryan Tannehill or a
Tannehill's a good one.
Yeah, he could be a future Colt. Who else? Maybe in 4 years it could be Russ Wilson. You never know. But the thing is, the Colts immediately get better because they have a quarterback. We're not believing in Mr. Glass, which he's already taking out huge insurance policies to make sure that FedEx Field doesn't murder him.
It has done previous quarterbacks.
The track record that place has, and now you put him in there. Like, that's just the dumbest thing ever for the Washington emails to even make that decision.
I will say this about the Colts. I completely agree with Tommy because where I was giving Tommy crap, Ben Roethlisberger just completely fell off a cliff. He went from being a Pro Bowl quarterback to a guy who you didn't want on your roster, but you were paying him so much guaranteed money you had to keep him around.
You were hoping he retired.
Matt Ryan won league MVP the year they lost the Super Bowl to the Patriots. He's not at that level now, but he hasn't fallen off greatly. He's still a Pro Bowl level quarterback going to a team with a great offensive line. According to Tommy, the best running back in the league.
He got into the thing with the Falcons for the past couple of years. They couldn't decide if they wanted to rebuild or not. So Matt Ryan was kind of left there because of the contract, and they were not doing anything. So they just kind of existed out there in the ether. And that's kind of where teams are at now. The Colts, they had all this money in cap space. They could afford the big contract with Matt Ryan. Hell, they might even restructure him, but I don't think they will. I think they'll wait and just see how it plays out.
He's got 2 years left at a pretty high guaranteed rate.
Yeah.
But speaking of that, so you're talking about, the Falcons with Matt Ryan getting traded away, weren't sure what they're going to do. They signed Marcus Mariota to a 2-year contract. Marcus Mariota can get a 2-year contract. Not a single team out there wants to take a flyer on Baker Mayfield for 1 year.
So where is Baker going to go?
I don't know. All I've heard is no one's really interested in the Panthers.
Well, the Browns
make it public. They're not interested.
Right. So you're telling me, and I get it. You feel more confident in Darnold than you do Mayfield. But Mayfield's also owed $20 million, right?
Right around $20 million guaranteed for just this 1 year.
Right, just this 1 year. So again, it's like maybe it'll be like baseball, and we get close to the trade deadline, and maybe the Panthers will go get Baker Mayfield. we need him for DH.
To me, you would think that a team like Seattle for 1 year might take him, or Carolina would go for him for 1 year.
I think the Panthers make the
maybe the Panthers are just trying to lower because the leverage is gone.
Yep.
Because you already got Watson, so you really don't need Mayfield. So you're not like we really got to have a second round pick for it. No, you don't.
You know that Houston
Matt Ryan
really
got
likes,
a third. So
they really like the neck there, Davis Mills. Otherwise, you would have had Baker Mayfield come over in that trade.
I assumed that would have been in the deal.
Yeah.
And Baker's from Texas.
Yes.
Like, I thought that would work.
When I heard that trade, the first thing I thought was I saw how much guaranteed money Watson was getting, and then I realized, Baker Mayfield didn't get traded to the Texans. What the heck?
I thought that was going to be just a flip-flop there. I thought he was gone also.
So back to the Browns, and I'll say we're going to dive into this a little bit more. So the Browns are very similar to the Jaguars as have being completely irrational. They've screwed up the market now, and all these teams that do business the way they do, teams like the Bengals and the Steelers and the Seahawks, these teams that don't like to give out big contract incentives. They like to do real short deals. They don't like to do a lot of guaranteed money up front. They will do some, but you got all these quarterbacks now that are going to be coming up on the market. You're going to have guys like a Joe Burrow, like a Herbert, like a Russ is going to be on another deal soon. Between Aaron Rodgers deal in Green Bay and what Cleveland just did for Deshaun Watson to give him a fully guaranteed $256 million contract, knowing that he may not even play all this year, and they restructured his contract, so if he gets suspended, the fines aren't even going to hurt him because he's going to need that for his civil lawsuit.
So now I don't need an agent, and I don't really know what an agent can do for me in life, but if I do need one, I want Deshaun Watson's
Absolutely,
agent.
yes.
Created a market for him to get. He didn't play last year, and he got a huge raise.
How? Like, what if he turns out and if he shits the bed, they're so screwed.
Oh, man.
Let me tell you, it boils down to this. It's the Browns being the Browns. They've made a historically bad move.
But maybe. Like, I get that. It might be a historical bad move, but Deshaun Watson also led the NFL in passing yards 2 years ago when he played. So, like, what if he is that guy?
2 years ago.
Right, he didn't play last year.
Didn't play at all.
Maybe he's healthy
and
now.
has at least a suspension over his head.
Well, he did get his butthole waxed. He's doing good.
Bleached first.
Bleach, that's what it was. My bad.
Oh, man.
Real quick. Today, there was the second grand jury. It was in a different county, and he wasn't indicted there. So as far as so think about that. Cleveland knew that there was still that possibility out there, and they went ahead and did the deal.
I don't know that the agent and the lawyer said that Cleveland never came to them about a second grand jury.
But you'd have to know.
You would think they would know.
But then again, you said it's the
their
Browns.
due diligence. Maybe they just thought if the first one with 9 complaints led to nothing, the second one was only separate because it was in a different county. But to me, I don't know. Like, as a fan, if you take out the off the field stuff, you love that your team's taking this big swing at being a competitor. But I've seen a lot of Cleveland fans that are like, I'm done with the team. This guy's a predator. We don't want him.
Yeah, they
Right.
didn't like the move.
Even though he's not guilty in a court of law, like, it looks pretty bad. Like, it looks like
22 women all telling a similar story, and they're spread across different areas. It's not like they're all from one massage parlor.
I don't think they had a Facebook group or a Reddit feed about this, where that's how they corroborated their stories. I don't think that's come up, but the thing is about sexual crimes like this, it's so hard to indict.
It's hard to indict because proof is hard to come by.
Right. Because a lot of it's just he said, she said. But the thing is like, if it's just the pattern like that, though, like, I'm sorry, where there's smoke, there's fire, right? Yeah. Like, look about Kobe, man. Kobe's revered now, but how long did it take people to get over that? And some people never did.
Yep.
And that was just a one-off thing, but still, like, some of the details that came out and things like that, it made people look at him with a different set of lenses.
Yep.
So
it did, and then too, it's weird to see what he will end up getting as far as a suspension goes.
What are you predicting as far as that goes?
I would say 6 games. He sat last year, even though he wasn't suspended. It was more of a team decision.
Did we ever find out what Big Ben's suspension was?
Like, his original was a 6 game, and then it became a 2 game that he actually served.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Would Ray Rice get 2 games for knocking out his woman?
And a season.
Well, it started as 2 games. It wasn't. It didn't change until public discourse got so bad because they're like, "Oh, the NFL, you're idiots."
It's like gamble on a game, you're done for a year. Beat a woman, do anything to a woman, 2 games.
Yeah, 2 games. We'll see.
I'm trying to see
Breast Cancer Awareness Month in the NFL.
I am trying to find what the
care about women. We sell pink gear.
What the suspension was. Because I do want to know.
I'm thinking Biggie was correct. It was 6 brought back to 2.
The NFL does weird stuff. Ezekiel Elliott got suspended 6 games, or I think it was gonna be 6. Maybe it got pled down for stuff that happened when he was at Ohio State.
Yes, that's the image they're trying to protect there. Yeah.
And how they come about, how they do the suspensions makes no sense to me.
Oh, that's a communistic thing there.
It's just whatever Goodell decides which team
like
it is, which owner he's buddies with.
Yep.
So he was suspended. Roethlisberger, back to him. I finally got to the nitty gritty. It was in 2010. He was suspended without pay for the first 6 games of the season. It was subsequently reduced to 4 games.
Okay.
4?
Yeah.
I don't remember it being that long.
Didn't they go on to play in the Super Bowl that season, or was it the next one? Or was that coming off of the Super Bowl?
That might have been
coming off the Super Bowl, wasn't it?
Okay.
Yeah,
I think that was Charlie Batch, wasn't it? Wasn't Charlie Batch still there?
Yes, Charlie Batch was there.
Man, that was a great
I like
backup.
Charlie.
So,
I miss Charlie.
Go ahead.
Do you guys think that Baker Mayfield is the opening day starter for the Browns this year?
No.
No, he will not be a Brown opening day.
So you think that they can't find a trade partner?
We're transitioning to baseball
just
too much. Opening day starter. No,
I'm sorry.
He's not. He's not coming off the mound. He will not be there for kickoff.
Got baseball in the mind.
Yeah, well.
Okay, because I heard a kind of a crazy thing saying where Deshaun Watson had restructured his contract. Cleveland had an inside track to they knew he was going to miss.
Baker's not going to play another down for Cleveland.
Nope.
Okay, I don't think so either. I think that if they don't find a trade partner, they cut him.
They'd release him with the guaranteed money before he plays.
Okay,
I don't see there's any way.
If they cut him, there'll be a market for Mayfield.
Right.
There'll be a Mayfield.
Because then, he can do a 1-year flyer and maybe he can bet on himself again. Again, he's his worst enemy. He should have sat down when he was injured, for all the things that we admire about players with their grit. And I'm rooting for Baker. I really am, man. But you screwed up. Because you played like crap, and even when you were playing like crap, you should have sat down.
That's the ego thing. That's the chip on his shoulder.
Because if he would have done that, we probably wouldn't be talking about Deshaun Watson right now for Cleveland.
If he sits down last year with injuries and Case Keenum finishes the year out, they're not moving on from Baker this year on this last year. This is his make it or break it year because the money's guaranteed. But the way it ended, and then he became real chippy with the media in Cleveland.
Yeah, he started getting a little fragile, and then it didn't help that OBJ was balling out in L.A., and everybody was seeing that, and they were like, see, Baker? And we were guilty of that. We were memeing him to death, too, like whatever we could do. And then, it is what it is. But, you got to have a tougher sense of what it's a business. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And Baker took it very personal, and I can see why he did fragile. Because
his ego's fragile.
He gave his heart and soul to Cleveland. He really did, and
he wanted to be the number 1 pick in Cleveland and revitalize the franchise.
Oh yeah, he did,
and he did. He did. He's part of that. But he was also 27th in QBR this year.
Yeah.
So
he's bounced up and down pretty good. He'll be a starter for a really bad team next year in the NFL.
All right. So all that being said, we go back and revisit all the moves and everything. And I think last week I read them all off. We were just astounded by all of them and trying to see what's making sense. But we talk about it being compared to Major League Baseball now, right? So you got teams in baseball that are just not competitive, that don't do anything to try to win. What are the teams? Give me 4 or 5 teams in the NFL that are your Pirates, your Royals, your whoever you want to throw at there. I don't know. Like, who are the teams that, with all this movement going on, they just decided we're not interested in winning right now?
Well, I would say that
That's a good question.
The Giants are one.
The Giants is where I was leaning, and then I was also going to say that the Texans, because they have shipped out and brought nothing back in.
Yeah. But they're at least in a clear rebuild mode.
True.
So I'll give them that. But let's see what it takes to get it rebuilt.
I was going to say Giants are the only one that really comes to mind, a team in a big market that it's just kind of done nothing.
What about Carolina?
Yeah. They've been in the mix. I mean, they might not have made actual moves, but they've been talked about.
I feel like they need to trade CMC right now.
Well, last year they thought they had a quarterback to go with him. They traded for Sam Darnold, former first round
those first three games of the year, they looked all right.
Yeah.
And then they started realizing they played shitty teams, and they didn't.
Other than that, I can't really think of a team that hasn't at least made moves, because I'm not thinking just this year. I'm thinking the last couple of years. Like the Cardinals haven't done anything this offseason, but
they've been very
years they got hot.
And they were a playoff team last year. They didn't blow it up. You know what I mean? Seattle blew it up.
Yep.
Seattle is like Houston, only they've been a little bit more organized with what they're doing, and they got a ton back in return.
Like New Orleans has done nothing.
Where?
New Orleans. But they're so far against the cap, the only chance they had to do anything was to re-sign Jameis Winston, and that's the only move they could make.
Their cap situation
Carolina,
is so
Atlanta's
bad.
traded it. Atlanta hasn't really made an effort.
How did they get in such bad cap?
They kept paying all those defensive guys, man. They were overpaying all their defensive guys.
Yeah, Teron Armstead left.
Yeah.
See, I think that it's like the AFC and NFC South teams that are kind of in that bunch, like Saints, Falcons, Panthers, Texans. You could say Jags, but they overpaid.
The Titans did. What did the Titans do?
Bad money. Titans didn't do anything this year. But if you look at like the Western Division and
the AFC West
or the North,
the AFC best,
yeah. I think there's just a group of teams here and there, division-wise, that don't spin because they don't feel like they have to win their division. The AFC West, every team out there realized it's like a loaded AL East back in the day where you could have Yankees and Red Sox both win 100 games. Well, that's the AFC West now.
The West is strong.
What team there finishes last? You know what I mean? Right now, you probably think it's the Raiders. Maybe
that's my first thought.
How do you feel about the Chiefs now?
Yeah, the Chiefs went from being the overall dominant number one team in the AFC.
Like they were like, we just don't have to do anything.
Yeah,
just hold it together.
And then now, if you want to crap on the Chiefs, that's fine. But at the same time, all those draft picks they got back, they drafted Mahomes, they drafted Kelsey, they drafted Tyreek Hill. They've found a ton of talent, so they have to be pretty confident in their ability.
So we're in this territory now where teams have to figure out their strategy. You rather have to do what the Rams are doing, or you got to do what the Chiefs honestly are doing because they've already paid their quarterback.
Yep.
So he's locked up.
See, there's
only so much money to go around, and Tyreek Hill, I heard that they offered him a pretty good deal.
Yeah, but he wanted Devontae Adams money.
Right. And again, the market's screwed up right now.
And then, hey, that's the Raiders addition by subtraction. We get Adams. We wanted him anyway, and we hurt our opponent because that guy doesn't want to be there anymore.
I mean,
I am curious if more teams start doing what you just said with the Rams. The Rams are the only team that's doing this. We don't care about a first-round pick. Give us Matthew Stafford. We'll build a little bit through free agency. We'll fill our roster with, second, third, fourth-round picks. They've been doing that. They haven't had a first-round pick in like 5 years, and they've been to 2 Super Bowls in that time.
Dude, as a Bengals fan, needing to what was the Bengals one thing they needed to do?
Offensive line.
And they did it all through free agency.
And they addressed it.
You know what I mean? So they didn't go because what they did the year before was we know they took Jamar Chase in the first round, and everybody was like, I was one of them. Oh, well, we're taking a receiver, which I'm a dumbass, and the Bengals no scout team did better than I did. But anyway, they went out and got all these offensive linemen, and instead of taking a risk in the draft, now you get to go draft defensive guys and spot start guys and things like that. So you're rather one or the other, right? And you got to figure out what positions you end up going to get. But the Rams are the anomaly. They get everybody through free agency. They haven't had a first-round draft pick in, 4 years?
4 or 5. I think this will be the fifth year.
This will be the fifth year, I believe.
Yes. You look at what they've done with their first-round picks. Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey, Matthew Stafford, Odell Beckham. All of their first-round picks became guys that were already proven talent.
I mean, they are. And who's left out there, though? I mean, Gilmore hasn't signed anywhere.
Gilmore hasn't signed.
I know that's not a huge name as it used to be, but man, like get him on a better team.
Defensive Player of the Year 3 years ago.
I mean, where was he at last year? Carolina.
Yeah,
and that was Trey. And like, look, Carolina was dog shit. So I'm sure you put him on a Pittsburgh or a Cincinnati or a LA Rams or a Buffalo Bills where he can go play New England twice a year. Yeah. Those would be, I think you'd see a different player. So he's up there. OBJ, is he even going to play this year?
He'll miss at least the beginning of the season with an ACL, and that's 2 ACL.
This ain't a quarterback, this is a wide receiver. So, like, that's a longer recovery time.
I mean, somebody will sign him, but it's either going to be a prove-it deal or a low-money 2-year type deal with a team option or a player option because he doesn't probably play before week 5 or 6, right?
He's going back to Cleveland.
I'd say week 10 maybe.
ACL, February, those are 6 months if you're super.
That's 6 months if you're a quarterback.
Yeah, true.
I mean, I'd say he's 9 to 12.
So if he plays by Thanksgiving, he's doing good.
I would think so. Now,
that might be a push.
All right, Jimmy G. That's my last one. Where is he staying put?
I think he stays in San Francisco because the way the market played out, there was this rumor that Brady was going to be starting for San Francisco. That's not going to happen. If you keep Garoppolo, when you look at quarterback contracts right now, where his money sets, why not keep him for one more year? Then you don't have to force Trey Lance into the starting role. Look at what Aaron Rodgers, he sat, 3 years behind Brett Favre?
Yeah, because are you saying Trey Lance is going to be like Aaron Rodgers?
I'm saying,
Biggie just said that Trey Lance is the next Aaron Rodgers. I heard it here.
If you let him sit for 3 years, guaranteed.
So why don't they just go ahead and let Jordan Love play in Green Bay then?
Well, that's a bad idea.
It only works when I want it to work, damn it.
The only quarterback who's wanted less in the NFL than Baker Mayfield right now is Jordan Love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Garoppolo does have a leg up. Man, Texas Tech is whipping the ass off Duke. Man, that defense ain't no joke.
Come on, Kay. Come on,
all
Kay.
Right. I'm ready to enjoy some more March Madness, but the March Madness of NFL free agency has been fantastic. When's the NFL draft? We still got a month, don't we?
NFL draft is right around the 4th week of April, 24th.
It's a month away.
Yep.
What else is going to happen?
I believe is when it starts. Yep.
What else is going to happen between now and then?
Well, you got to think that if guys like DK aren't traded before then, draft night's when they get moved. That's like the trade deadline for big trades, it feels like, in the offseason. If it doesn't happen by draft night where you get picks for this year, it's next year.
Yeah. Man, it's been fun, though.
Mm-hmm. Would you wait on decaf to go? I mean, draft night?
Just call him Decaf.
Yeah.
That's
decaf, I did.
That's what that's what he's going to be decaf. With Drew Lock throwing him the ball.
Decaf.
Well, Green Bay has a ton of picks. If they want Metcalf, they can get him. But how can you afford him if you couldn't afford Devontae Adams? Why are you bringing in Metcalf?
Well, I think they were going to franchise tag Adams. And
he said he wouldn't play on it.
Right. And that's what the crux of all that was.
Metcalf to the Dolphins. They got some more Bill O'Brien picks to dole out.
Patriots.
Oh, well, it's been fun so far. Everybody listening, don't forget to follow us on social media, whether you find us on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. And Mr. Brown's been hustling, getting us some subscribers over there. And we're starting to get some people interact with some of our videos and things like that. We've had a nice little run of some multimedia out there in the internet. So make sure you follow, you subscribe, turn your notifications on. Make sure you do it for the podcast, too, so you never miss an episode. Because sometimes we like to interact with the fans, and we didn't really have a good segment question, and we threw one up in the middle of the show. Tommy, what did we ask everybody?
Sports worst contract.
And they didn't disappoint. It's only been up for an hour. We got about 100 comments out there, and one of the first ones we saw was the wonderful Jamarcus Russell out there, which I said he's a rookie. It would have been a crappy deal. No, it wasn't. They gave him 6 years, $61 million, with half of it guaranteed. Yep. How many career touchdowns do you think he had?
6.
It was 18, actually.
Oh, okay.
18.
Yeah.
I know he didn't watch any game film.
No, he didn't. We know that for sure. You brought up Albert Haynesworth.
7 years, $100 million for a defensive lineman, a defensive tackle. And he went to the Washington emails.
Yep.
And he was he was stomping on guys with his cleats.
Dude,
He only a few elbows, didn't he?
He only played 20 games for Washington.
You know why I remembered Albert Haynesworth is that he was too out of shape to do like these shuttle drills and stuff in camp. And this was when Mike and Mike were still Mike and Mike. And after they got done with the show, Golick hadn't played pro football in how many years, and he went out and
I remember that episode. Yes.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yes.
I have this one that sticks out to me for a reason. You just brought up the subscribers YouTube channel, the videos that are out there. One of the videos that we did a while back was on Chris Davis, and he had like an 0-for-37 streak to start the season. So Chris Davis is set to make $42 million in deferred payments in a 15-year period from 2023 to 2037 as part of a 7-year, $161 million contract he signed with the Baltimore Orioles. If you look at his stats from the time he signed at 2016 on, he's had the highest strikeout rate of any player in the league. That's thanks to T.C. Cheney.
Nice. I keep scrolling through there, see if we got some other good ones here. I see a lot of internet chatter about Miguel Cabrera getting 8 years for $248, but that was coming off of
that at the time, that wasn't horrible. I wish I had these numbers in front of me. I should have grabbed them. Luol Deng is still getting paid by the Lakers.
No.
He hasn't been in the league in like 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I thought that was only baseball that did that.
Nope.
Yeah.
He's got one of those weird contracts where the NBA was
Deng.
going to do a thing where you could wipe a contract off your books every so often and still pay a guy. Luol Deng's one of those guys.
I did see that somebody said Jacoby Ellsbury for the Yanks.
Yeah, he got a
163.
big money deal, and he hasn't done a whole lot of it.
7 years, $153 million. And he hasn't played since when? 2018?
At least, yeah.
Yeah, 2017, 2018.
Is he done though? Like, is he officially retired or what?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, he's officially retired?
Yep. So I'm going to read this one from top to bottom here. It was shared as a cutout from a Google search. If you like the Bobby Bonilla contract, check out Bruce Sutter. Bruce Sutter is the closest Bobby Bonilla in terms of number of deferred payments. He's received since 1984. He signed a 6-year contract that paid him $4.8 million. His Braves tenure was highlighted by injuries, blah, blah, blah. Sutter annually receives $1.12 million from the Atlanta Braves and will continue to receive these payments until 2022, which is this year is his last payment. These payments began in 1991. 31 years of $1.12 million a year for a guy who was injured most of the time he played for you.
Good job, Bruce Sutter. A lot of people said Deshaun Watson's new contract on there, which we already kind of went over that pretty well.
Oh, and the Braves also pay Sutter one final check this year for $9.1 million as the final payment.
Oh, they're just writing him off now. Finally, they're like, "No, we're done.
After
Write him a
30
check.
years.
Yes.
Take him off the books." This is why baseball doesn't have a salary cap.
How about baseball? We're on baseball West Coast. Josh Hamilton, when he signed with the Angels after his Rangers days, man, he was horrible.
Yeah, he was real bad then. But, Josh Hamilton, man, that's a story for another day. He's got so much up and downs and the reasons why. Like, that's tough.
Ellsbury got 9 years, $153 million.
For what?
He did get overpaid.
God.
Way overpaid.
What do you get, 19 hits as a Yankee? I don't know.
I'm going to tell you who I think one of the worst NFL contracts ever is. Brock Osweiler.
Brock Osweiler. Yeah. The Broncos or the Texans?
The Texans gave him all that money on a 3-year contract, having never actually talked to him. Remember, he was backing up Peyton Manning the year Manning retired, and Osweiler was starting, and they were winning games. Manning was out. When Manning did come back healthy right before the playoffs, they gave him the job back. He played like dog crap, but they won the Super Bowl. The Broncos and Elway, for whatever reason, didn't want to move forward with Osweiler. He ended up going to the Texans, and they gave him a big money deal, and he was horrible.
There ain't no better time in football than Brocktober, though.
Brocktober.
Man, nobody said Pujols.
The Anaheim
No.
deal?
Yeah. That was
No,
a $240 million
down
deal.
here.
I don't know. That one should be one should be up there. How about John Wall getting 4 years for $170 million for the Wiz
and just sitting?
Gosh, that's like that. The Grant Hill contract's like that, right? Remember how much he got in Orlando at the time? And
and then they just injured.
Yes.
And Duke's come back and tied it there, boys.
Yes.
I see a bunch of Alex Rodriguez on here.
I think that's just because everybody hates A-Rod.
Yeah, that's a personal thing. It's not that.
He's still produced to a certain degree, not what it's worth, but
I finally scrolled to the bottom here. Charles Rorex, Albert Pujols, 10-year deal with the Angels.
See, Charles, he's a big fan. He supports us. He always shares stuff in the football group, so I'm glad to see him with the baseball knowledge.
So B.J. Upton by the Braves, if Mr. Brown was here, he probably would have brought that up. 5 years, $75 million, and they said he struck out more than he hit.
As a Reds fan, I'll tell you, Homer Bailey was a terrible, terrible deal. Terrible.
Could have left that alone.
God. Like, you know where he went after the Reds? Minor league.
Did he really?
You know you're bad when that's where you end up.
I did not know.
That's a $100 million contract because he had 2 no-hitters. But
yeah, he scored on the 2 no-hitters.
He had that 1 year, like you talk about just cashing in, and then you wonder why the Reds are going fire sale mode now because freaking Homer Bailey just still hanging over their head.
Jeez.
So if any of the contracts that were just signed, do they stick out as ones we'll revisit later? Like Aaron Rodgers, I love him as far as his talent.
Deshaun Watson will, because I feel like
38 and he got $150 million. Deshaun Watson
there's
got
no way
million.
he performs at the high level again, right? Like there's so much.
For that amount of money, aren't you buying a Super Bowl from Deshaun Watson, right?
Like, yes. I expect the Super Bowl. I don't know if he's even going to make a Pro Bowl. Like he could. He could be an MVP. Hell if I know.
So as I'm searching through here, the one of these that sticks out to me the most, and I didn't know this, Chuck Mosley said Brian Taylor, New York Yankees, 1991, signed a $5 million contract, never played an inning in the majors.
Never heard the name.
Oh,
why can't we get a contract
I've
like
never
that?
heard it.
John Wall, Russell Westbrook, Allen Houston. I remember that contract from back in the day.
Yeah.
Josh Smith, Lou Aldang, Ben Simmons. God, Ben Simmons got so much money.
All right, well, guys, make sure you head over to the Facebook page where that's taking place. We Don't Know Sports. We got it right there at the top. It's running the gambit of all the terrible contracts out there. So if you got one, make sure you tell us about it. But outside of that, we're going to go back and enjoy. We usually talk about what we're going to do this weekend. You know what? We've had the door open to the man cave all night. It's nice, brisk, but cool, and it's not winter anymore. There's pollen out there. My kids are sick with allergies. I feel like the sun's shining. It's a brand new day. Baseball is getting ready to start. And the madness is going to carry us through the weekend. And you want to call it right now? Is Coach K, do you still feel like he's going to lose tonight?
No,
or
he's playing Saturday.
They're tied at 20 right now, but I still think Texas Tech's going to be too much for him.
It's going to be Coach K versus the greatest fan base in college sports on Saturday for a trip to the Final Four.
We love our Arkansas Razorbacks out there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the We Don't Know Sports podcast. Thanks for giving us an opportunity to invade your ears, even if it was just for an hour this week. Make sure you check out the special episode coming out tomorrow with our interview with Barry Laminack down at Houston. Guy is hilarious. So make sure you enjoy every second of that as well. Subscribe, get your notifications so you won't miss an episode. Thanks for listening. Have a good weekend, and bye-bye.